Akshay, you're up next. Hello.
All right. Thanks for taking the call. So I have a hand from 10 25 50 at MGM. It's eight-handed. The $50 straddle was on for the first time.
Which MGM in DC?
So yeah, MGM in DC. The effective stack is the cutoff at 8.5K or so. I cover him by a bit, but I'm in the big blind with Jack nine of hearts.
Okay.
So just some quick context before the hand that I think might be relevant. So I've only played like above 510 for like 5 months and I'm 22. And so at the specific MGM game, someone mentioned that and they think I'm really tight because I'm new. So I've been able to get a lot more respect than I should out of raises. And so the cutoff opens to 150. The button calls and the small blind calls. I 3-bet to 450. I wasn't totally sure on the sizing here, but the under the gun, or the straddle, I guess, folds. The cutoff calls.
Wait a minute. Wait, so you're going, I mean, I like a fast call, but you're going a little too fast. I'll tell you, your sizing kind of sucks. So cutoff to 150, button calls, small blind calls. You go to 450 with Jack nine of hearts out of the big blind?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you think that's a little bit small?
That's what I thought. It's just that because of like what I've been seeing before, I think there was I just thought the button and the small blind most likely folded to aggression a lot in the past. And I do think like in retrospect, I should have made it bigger because I think I thought 450, like once he opened to 150. And so like once I had the two callers, I kind of made the bet too quickly, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, in general, like if you're out of position, even without a caller, if you're playing this deep, well, I mean, you're playing effectively, I guess, maybe 180 big blinds. I don't know if is the straddle always on every hand now in this game?
It is now, yeah.
All right, so people are just opening to 150. Is that how it's going, like 3x?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, now you just look at it straight, like $50 big blind game. And obviously you're incentivized to drive out the straddle behind you. Sometimes you can call in this spot here if the guy's not super squeeze happy. And then sometimes you can obviously call when you're closing the action in the straddle. Usually you don't want to play too many calls in this particular spot if you have an aware straddle to your left. But and in Jack 9 suited, I mean, it would just be once in a while that I would squeeze because it's probably not necessarily strong enough, like, you know, say Jack 10 hearts. But in terms of your sizing here, though, I mean, even if there were no callers, you'd probably want to go 4x here. I mean, here I would go probably 3 to 4x plus the callers. So if I went 4x plus the callers, it would have been like, what, 600, 900. If you went 3x plus the callers, it's like 750. I mean, this is definitely not going to get... I would be shocked if anybody folds. So you go to 450, the straddle folds, and then I assume both players call, or what?
So the cutoff calls, the button calls, and the small blind folds.
The cutoff call, right, the two guys in position. So cutoff calls, button calls, and small blind folds. By the way, I didn't realize there were three people in there. Three people in there, actually. So if you went 4x 150 plus three dead calls, 4 times 450 is 600, plus another 450, it's like 1,050 if you went 4x plus the calls. And if you went 3x plus the calls, it's 450, and another, it's like 900. So, yeah, you are way, way small. So anyways... so it's three ways, right?
Yeah,
okay.
and so the flop is King 10 3 all hearts. So I was pretty happy about that. And so I bet 400 here.
By the way, the small blind folded?
Yes.
How is that possible?
I think it was just like an actual nit. Unlike me, I guess. And so...
No, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because you went 450 and then the cutoff called and the button called. So, and then that's 1350. He's already in for 150. He called initially in the small blind, which is not supposed to be loose. That's really, really strange. Anyways, that is very, very bizarre. Anyways, okay, so the flop comes out King of Hearts, 10 of Hearts, 3 of Hearts. So you flop the second nut flush, right? Oh, excuse me, the third. You flop the third nut flush. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I bet 400. The cutoff raises me to 1.2, and the button folds.
All right. So hero bets 400. Cutoff. Like I said, I like a fast call, but you could go in a little too fast with the action. Okay. So hero bets 400 to 1500. Cutoff raises to 1200. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Button folds.
And then
button folds.
I was thinking he would do this with a good amount of like ace of hearts, it's something. And so I call. I didn't see any point in raising or doing anything else. And then
All right, wait a minute. Ashke, hold on. Slow down. Slow down. Okay, slow down. This is just, you called in this hand, so we have to talk about it as opposed to just zooming through the action. So what are your options here? Obviously, you've flopped the third nut flush here, and you have a straight flush draw here, obviously, with the Queen of Hearts. I almost never, ever believe anyone fast plays the nut flush, even though I'm a huge advocate of it. So really, if we take out most ace-x of nut flush heart, hands, then we're left with the queen high flush that is that you're losing to. What's interesting is because you have the jack and the 9 here, unless he's playing like queen 6 of hearts, queen 7 of hearts, queen 5 of hearts, some bullshit like that, he really shouldn't have any queen high flushes here. You have jack 9. So what possible flopped queen high flush could he really have here? Now, I remember when you emailed this hand in, and for me, for the reasons of I think I have the best hand here because I don't buy the guy is fast playing the nut flush and he's going to get my money anyways. And also that he really shouldn't have any viable flop queen high flushes. I might consider 3-betting the flop. There has to be some 3-bets here. And I'm not talking about doing it with like 7, 8 of hearts, but specifically, I think I have the best hand here a ton. Now, is calling bad? No, calling isn't bad, and it's quite possible that you would call as a continue with most holdings, but there has to be some bet 3-bets here. Obviously, probably would be with some like ace 4 of hearts types holdings, unblocking all that Broadway stuff. But that's how I'm looking at this in this particular, situation here. I just think it's interesting with the card distribution and me not believing that he ever has the nut flush. But anyway, so you called, right?
yeah, and that's actually helpful because I think the thing, like you mentioned, that I thought was really interesting about this hand is that a lot of his potential flushes, or even a lot of his potential flushes are blocked, and so like I was thinking, I almost had like I guess the opposite wrong reasoning because I was thinking like if he has, there's a good chance he just has like the ace of hearts and something else, because I think like a lot of other hands in that position might even 4-bet if they are flopping a flush like this, and so because of that I just called, but like in retrospect to your point, like it seems like it would make a lot of sense to 3-bet here.
Well, if you're going to get action from those hands, and the problem here is that if you call, you might, you're out of position. So unless you're planning on having some sort of weird turn donk range on like a brick, which is definitely bizarre, the hand naturally somewhat will sort of go, check to the guy who's putting the pressure on you. He might check behind because if the river is a black deuce here and you've called his raise and he has some sort of draw, like say maybe even just with the ace of hearts, it doesn't look like to me you're folding once you make that call on the flop. And then you get into a situation where the pot is going to be somewhat awkward size because you guys just put in 24 on the turn. And now it looks like it's right around 3,900, I want to say. And and you guys have like, 6,000 left, right? Something like that, or 7,000 left. Yeah, you have about 7,000 left. So if you check and he's like, oh, I'm just going to, go for it. Am I going to like bet pot? Your response is going to be fold or all in. This is why I think that the bluff from him doesn't come if he realizes this, because it's somewhat awkward stack sizes now with less than 2 pot size bets left, which is another reason why I like sometimes bet 3-betting here, because the bet isn't going to come from the in-position player on a lot of blanks as much as some might think. But anyways, the pot's 3,900, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so the turn is really interesting. It's the ace of hearts, and I check.
Ace of hearts. Wow, that is very interesting. So the turn is the ace of hearts. So now, I don't know if your hand, I guess you could say your hand improves, right? Your hand improves to the second nut flush, but there's 4 flush cards out there, so he didn't have the nut flush, right? And now the only thing is that is he ever taking a hand that's like a pair and the queen high flush, the like king queen of hearts, something like that, queen jack with the queen of hearts? First of all, are those hands calling? Well, you made it so small 3-bet preflop that it's going to get a little bit weird because he's going to get priced in with a lot of hands that he might otherwise would have folded with normal sizing when you 3-bet. So he might have those hands. Now, some people might say, well, he would 4-bet. He wouldn't want those people to call behind him. That's true too. I'm just trying to think about how this card affects things. Like if he had king queen with the queen of hearts, queen jack with the queen of hearts, and if he played it this way, my gut reaction is that this card actually kind of fucked you in the sense that you had the best hand and it might slow the action down. Because now it's a disaster if he flopped a small flush or a set or something like that he would have gotten it in with you on the flop, and now, it's going to go check or something.
Yeah, and I was I was also surprised by this card because I thought that I just thought that he had less combinations of the queen of hearts than he possibly did of the ace of hearts, just because of I was like king queen or queen jack that would raise me on the flop, just because I just couldn't, because I think I block a lot of the other combinations, and so I figured like if he had like some sort of like set here, or like you said, a 2-pair, that this just wasn't good for me to just lead out on. I might be wrong about that, and so because of that, I just checked.
I don't know what you were in. It's a really weird spot to think about here because you use such small sizing pre. Like there must be some leads here. I mean, here's the thing. Like if you can discount him ever having the queen of hearts here for the reasons that we've stated, there must be some sort. And I guess they would all be block leads. Is what it would be. What would make sense to me, like 1,000 or something like that. So that it doesn't get checked through. Obviously, it's very difficult to sort of balance. I just feel like you've got the best hand here a ton. People saying ace queen with the ace of hearts. It's such a weird spot because if he's any type of player, if you look back to preflop, he should always be 4-betting our hero here when our hero goes 3x, 150 call, and he goes 3x. I mean, it's such a joke sizing preflop. And then he'd have to, and then he'd raise the flop with the ace queen with the queen of hearts. It's definitely listen, and I think checking is something that we'd probably all do in real time, and I don't think we're going to fault. I just wonder if for those reasons, if you can somehow deduce that you're going to have the best hand here just a ton, can you use like a block sizing? Can you use a block sizing with the queen of hearts? Like say you had the queen of hearts here. Say you had ace queen with the queen of hearts. Now what do? You know what I mean? To not have it check through. Do you go 1,000?
I was thinking that, and this might not be the right way to think about it, but I was thinking that like if I let out here and he doesn't have like a high heart or anything like that, then I'm not sure if it would be like too obvious that I potentially had a flush here, because I'm not sure if I would be mixing in enough.
Like blocking with like a set of aces or a set of kings. No, I agree. It's right. It's really hard to, it's hard to think about, and it's possible for all those reasons that maybe the entire thing is checked on the turn. But it would sometimes make sense though if you block some hands that have some equity, that wouldn't necessarily want to call a huge bet like a set. This is actually where a block bet might actually come into play, where you're blocking the turn, so that you don't get priced out. And of course, that doesn't happen on the river because the equity's revealed itself. But it sounds to me like you checked, right? Hero checks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the cutoff bets, the same bet, which that was interesting, just 1.2K again.
Cutoff bets 1.2K.
And this set, I was thinking this sets up like a river jam for him if I call. But I was also, I was struggling here to think of what hands here that I could like 3-bet or I guess jam, that he would have any chance of calling with a worse hand. I just couldn't think of enough hands that he would call with, especially given that there's 4 hearts on the board.
No, I agree with you. It's a really, really strange spot. It's a really strange spot because if you call, if you call, the pot's going to be 6,300, and you guys are going to have about, 58 left. And, but then again, it's such an extreme type of scenario. Right, if you jam, what are you going to get called here by? Like, and then also, too, like, is he even betting? You know, let's say he flopped, like, 7, 8 of hearts here. Is he betting that on the turn now that the ace of hearts comes? You know what I'm saying? So I tend to agree with you. I mean, I think I call as played, and then, you know, if the river doesn't pair the board, you check, and at that point, you hope it goes check, check. It's just a really weird spot, right? Because you don't have the nuts. It's easy for someone to have the nuts. You probably don't think the guy has the nuts, but on these 4 flush runouts, if he doesn't have the queen of hearts and you have the jack of hearts, and you have jack 9 of hearts, the best heart he can have is the 8 high flush, right? That's the best flush he can have. If he doesn't have the queen high, you have jack 9. The best flush he can have is the 8 high hearts, if we're looking at this board correctly. So you can't really breathe on the pot. So it's a weird extreme scenario when you have the second nuts. Once in a while, the guy has the nuts, but you can't really put pressure because everything weaker is going to fold. So for those reasons, I think I call and check the river, and you just sort of hope it goes check, check, because or you check evaluate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you check evaluate. Like, you might check and he might make a bet, or he might jam, and you might be like, it's, you know, you're bluff catching at that point, because you're like, I don't understand how this guy has the queen of hearts. If he's not playing queen X of heart, queen shit of hearts, he didn't flop a flush. I don't think he's raising king queen with the queen of hearts or queen jack with the queen of hearts. So it's a check evaluate on the river. For those reasons, I would call and play all the rivers as a check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I just call. I'm starting to have, like, at this point, like, I'm starting to realize that, like, I was just trying to look back in the hand and just think of, like, what queen high flushes he could have, and that's where
Right.
I think I realized I potentially screwed up. Well, like, I obviously knew after the hand, but that I screwed up the preflop action, because, like, that.
Oh, because of the size. You mean because he's so much wider than what normally would be, right? And that's true. That's what makes this hand, like, off the rails. No, but I would say, though, and I say, like, people play suboptimally at this level all the time. Even when you misclicked, let's say you misclicked preflop, right? Which you did. The cutoff should still be probably, like, playing a robust 4-bet or fold strategy. I'm talking about preflop, right? Because the button in the small blind called. So, like, he shouldn't be in there with shit as a call when he should expect the button and the small blind to both call. I mean, we don't know what the fuck the small blind was doing here when he folded, but so he shouldn't really be in there. It's not like he opened from the button with 45% of his range, right? And then you misclicked a 3-bet and you guys were heads up, and then he just called with everything he opened because you priced him in. Right? This is a different type of scenario. There's 2 guys behind him, too, that called. So, anyways, okay. So you call. I agree with that, definitely. So now the pot is 6,300. Is that right?
So, yeah, because the river is 2 of clubs.
Okay. So that's a brick, which is not going to change, like, any. It's not going to, it's not a board pair, right? Yep.
And then, so I check, and he almost beats me. Like, by the time, like, I put my hand down, he, like, snap jams.
Okay, so how much was it for?
I think it was for, it's a little less than the pot, I think. So it was like, I had it around 6,000, but.
Yeah, he put it, so it's 12 on the turn, 12 on the flops, 24, and 450 is like right around 3,000. It's probably like 5,500 to 6,000, something like that, right?
Yeah, and
So don't tell us what you did yet. Don't tell us what you did yet. So he doesn't take too much. You check and he kind of snap jams.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just crazy because he's obviously representing so much strength in the sense that we really wanted him to check back, like, a smaller flush, or him to give up. Now he's moving all in. And like I said, again, the board is king of hearts, 10 of hearts, 3 of hearts for the podcast people, ace of hearts. The hero has jack 9 of hearts. So if somebody didn't have the queen high flush, the next flushing card is the 8. The next flushing card is the 8 because of what the hero has. So, I mean, he'd have to be running like a total. And what I'm saying is, like, he's not. It's extremely polarized. Like, he's representing the Queen of Hearts or nothing. But it's just so insane because he's raising next to act. He's raising next to act when you c-bet. And there's a guy behind him, and then he's betting 1,200 on the turn, and now he's just jamming. I mean, obviously you've got the second nut, so, you know, if there are some hands to call with, there are some hands to call with. These 4 flush boards are really, really underbluffed. It's a really, really weird spot because since the entire sort of hand started, I always doubted that he should really have all that much of the Queen of Hearts here. But the whole hand is off the rails because of the preflop action. Again, Darren saying ace queen with the Queen of Hearts. I think that's always 4-bet. King queen with the Queen of Hearts. Queens with the Queen of Hearts? Come on, David Wooldring. Look at the preflop action. The guy min-clicked. The hero min-clicked preflop. It's a 10, 25, 50 game. This is why you always have to go back to preflop for hand reading. That's why a lot of these hands are 4-bet off. So, I mean, it's a tough one, Ash K, because if somebody thinks that they're going to push you around because like you're a young guy, I could see calling here. The guy really shouldn't have the Queen of Hearts here all that much. I don't think if he's not playing Queen X of Hearts Queen X of Hearts garbage for a call, which he shouldn't be, which is a flop Queen high flush. And I find it really hard to believe that he's got the stiff Queen of Hearts here, given what should be 4-bet off preflop and what happened. So what ended up happening?
So yeah, I tanked for a bit, and like I was just really confused because I was thinking like hands like ace queen and then king queen that somehow got here were like in the end 4-better folding unless like something, unless like he just wanted to be gambled for some reason, which I just didn't think he was doing. And then I just couldn't I figured it's like the queen high or nothing.
Well, of course it's queen high or nothing. We just said that.
Yeah. And so like and I guess just because I blocked so many of the possible queen combinations, I ended up calling, and he shows Queen 7 of Hearts.
Queen 7 of Hearts. So he does have up and down hearts. By the way, even to a 3x 3-bet, that should not be a call with 2 guys behind. And this is why this hand was so hard to hand raid because of preflop, because he's never ever going to show up with that if you made a sizing of 450. Like I said, I don't really blame you for the call because I just don't think. I think ace queen is 4-bet off. I actually think king queen off gets 4-bet at this level a lot versus your misclick, and I don't think it plays it this way. King queen with the Queen of Hearts off as a raise on the flop. Same thing with queen jack. And I wouldn't have thought that he would have had Queen X of Hearts here. So, I mean, if you give him Queen... I mean, I guess it makes sense now. But you were destined to lose anyways here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if the turn was a brick?
Yeah, because I think that... I think, like, all the same reason... Because I think the Ace of Hearts made it worse, but I still think, like, regardless, I lose here. Because I thought, like... I was thinking maybe I lose here because I just, like, got unlucky and he hit, like, the 4th heart. But then... Yeah, I think in this situation, I don't think I'd ever put him on like a flop ace high flush because I just thought all those hands, especially with my weak 3-bet sizing, would 4-bet.
No, but I'm saying you're gonna lose on a brick, right?
Yeah, I'm saying if the ace of hearts hadn't come out, I still thought that a lot of his ace X of hearts combinations are 4-better folding, even especially to the weak sizing.
Oh, on the flop, you mean?
on the turn. I mean, like if the turn's a blank,
Mhm.
the ace of hearts doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And so like, and he does like he has the same line. I still think like I'm probably losing all of it.
Well, of course, I think you're check jamming the turn at that point. You have to. If the turn's an offsuit ace, or if the turn's a brick, right? You have to check jam the turn, depending on the sizing. I think I think you just go with it, because there are other hands that you might go with that aren't flushes. So you're going to get called by the smaller flushes, and you're going to get called by sets too, like of threes or something like that. But I appreciate the call. That was a long one.
Yeah, and thank you.
No, that's
this is really helpful.
definitely interesting. Good luck out there. That's a tough
Thank
hand.
you.
No more live misclicking.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
All right.